I'm myself Mushir Siddiqui and I'm from Kanpur, Uttar Pradesh. As I was going through your profile and I've seen that you were the part of the Legislative Assembly in 2016 government and 2021 government. So my question is that in 2016 we had ADMK government over here and now we have a DMK government which is your party. So basically, on when it comes to distribution of the funds for the government for different schemes, so is there any bias when you are sitting in the government and when you are sitting against the government? So that's what my question is.
Yeah, I mean, let me play a bit of devil's advocate here. I would say that at least the professed values of the ADMK are not that different from the DMK. In fact, if you look, at least till the lady was alive, the bulk of debates in the assembly and on the street in the political platform was not that you are for black and I am for white, or that you are for the rich and I am for the poor. The bulk of the debates were, we are all for the same thing. How much of it did you do and how much did I do? Who fought for reservation harder? Who won the case in the Supreme Court? Who fought against NEET harder? Who fought for Jallikattu harder? The values were the same. It was only a question of, partly personality politics and partly kind of execution capability. I'm better than you, you're better than me, kind of debate. After the lady went, then things changed quite a bit. And I'll caveat everything I say with, she had many, many strengths. I've been on record from the day she passed. I went on a public TV show and talked a lot about the strength she brought. But she had one major negative, and that is that she was paranoid because of, the difficulties she's had in her life and how she arrived where she arrived. She was afraid that she would be toppled or there would be some kind of conspiracy against her. And so she kept everybody on their toes. She changed ministers like you and I, change clothes. She rotated party posts and all that stuff. So she kept everybody so paranoid that they were afraid to even communicate. They couldn't be seen talking to somebody in the DMK or in the Congress or whatever. Why I bring that up is after she passed, for all the other negatives that happened, and a lot happened, I've said it on record multiple places. I'm going to say it again as a deep criticism. But I alleviate my criticism by saying it is not intended as personal criticism, because after she passed, the natural camaraderie that exists between politicians and all of the same community or language or Dravidian stock as we see ourselves, has reasserted itself. So when I say these things, I don't mean it as a personal attack. The politics has been relatively decent here. In 5 years in the assembly, not once did anybody heckle me when I spoke. We had fiery debates, but they always gave me great respect. In many ways, the opposition, that is the ruling party ministers and members, appreciated my contributions more because there was no kind of internecine envy or anything like that. And when I asked for things, they got done, or at least they got committed, whether they got done or not. So, having said that they were all not bad human beings as human beings, I say that the last 6-7 years, the main problem was not that they had different values or different skills. It was like a headless beast. I've said it in Tamil. Tala illa valgal kalgal. It's like you took out the head and the legs and the tails were wagging and moving by themselves. So there was no cohesive policy. There was no kind of strategy. There was no vision. They were used to being, kind of obsequious. You all remember how they used to bend, And I tell you, I'll just tell you a funny incident. When the swearing in happened, you might know that the 16 elections we lost by less than 1% of the vote. We did a lot of tactical things wrong. But till then, the Tamil public had been ADMK, DMK, ADMK, DMK, for 30 years or something like that. And then that election we did something slightly wrong and we lost. And so we went to the swearing-in ceremony, which itself was a big break from the past. The antagonism at personality level had been such that you wouldn't attend their function, they wouldn't attend yours, etc. So we went for the swearing-in ceremony. They did not anticipate us coming. And because they did not anticipate us coming, they put us in the 6th row. I mean, just for protocol, they had left some seats open. And they didn't mean to insult us. If they knew we were coming, they would have put us in the front seats. But, they didn't think we would come because that would be the history of 30 years. Anyway, we sat in the back row, and then all of a sudden, all the ministers waiting for swearing in just got up and bent like 90 degrees, the usual. And then nothing happened for like 5 or 8 minutes. Nothing happened. They just stayed bent for 5 or 8 minutes because they had gotten word that a car had entered the compound. As soon as they got word that the car had entered the compound, they immediately stood up and bent. Right. So she had kind of. I won't say she asked for it, but everybody wants to prove they're more loyal than the king. So the culture had descended to the point where these, gestures of obsequious kind of fealty had become de rigueur. So I happened to be sitting right behind my chief minister, now chief minister, my then opposition party leader, and I was saying, look at all these clowns, look at them, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, we say we're from the self-respect movement. We say all these things, look at these guys. And then the ceremony finished. And then on the way out, I said to him, Anna, actually, I just realized something. Using these jokers, she beat us. What was me being? So sometimes you have to, realize that it's not like we're that far apart, right? We're all from the same place. So I would say it's just the last 7-8 years, it's not been that they had bad policy, it's that they had a very limited ambition. They wanted to serve out 5 years and make as much money as they could. Many politicians make money. I'm not particularly accusing them. I mean, there were 1 or 2 extreme examples. People like the local administration minister. I mean, he should get like the award for blatant and shameless corruption in the history of Tamil Nadu. Right? Those are unique cases. But for the most part, they had limited ambition. They wanted to serve out 5 years and make their money and go. And so, they did as little as possible to rock the boat. They did as much as possible to keep the government in Delhi happy. And because of that, we got a lot of problems that we inherited. Because of that, the finances slipped. Because independent of whether it was DMK or ADMK, between 2003, the adoption of the FRBM Act and the FRA Act in Tamil Nadu, till 2014, the finances were at even keel. Between 2014 and 2021 is when our problems really, nobody knew what they were doing, right? I mean, processed about 2,000 something files after I became minister. And I've evolved the system and it's completely loaded on a computer and I have people who are designated to read all the nuances and then, they tell me what it is and I cross-reference and if what they say and what I read is the same and it seems okay, I sign it and if not, I push it back and, I push back a lot of files. Not like 50%, but maybe 20%. And some of them are profound policy implications, right? Like, I got a file saying there's some 99-year lease on like 1,500 crore piece of property. I said simply no. Government of Tamil Nadu will not, go into 99-year leases on property. We don't know what's going to happen to it. Today we think it's going for a good cause. 99 years is 5 generations. I'm not signing these papers. Effectively never. So there are important files, and if you don't realize what you're signing, sometimes you sign things that end up with profound implications. But it is causing a lot of stir in the Secretariat because it has been a long time since there was a finance minister who actually read the file before signing. Right? So people just sign files. Now we got a problem because last year, for example, they have signed administrative sanction for some 20,000 crores more in one department than the allocated budget. Now, the computer only knows that if something is given administrative sanction, when the bill comes, it should be paid. But it also knows that there's only so much money allocated to this department. So it doesn't know which was a project that we preferred, didn't prefer, that was last government, this government. Whoever brings the bill first gets paid till there's money and then it just stops paying. So if you have 20,000 crores of pent-up administrative sanctions for which we have not made any allocation, then the whole system breaks down. Right? So it is this kind of unthinking administration that I criticize and I continue to criticize. It's not that they were particularly bad people or, particularly, other than one or two exceptions, they were not particularly, even off the normal political kind of morality. But the consequences are really bad. So the lack of leadership affects you a lot. I mean, that's one of the lessons you take from this is that, you decide which is the devil and the deep blue sea. Do you want a complete lack of leadership and lack of direction and then you just like stagger down some rabbit hole? Or do you want a really, uncompassionate leader who makes a lot of kind of strange decisions and causes immediate problems? They're both bad outcomes.